my audience for my informative speech. The art of opera is a rich art that combines many of the different elements of singing, dancing, orchestra, and theater. The history of opera is a very rich history that dates back to the 16th century Italy. The first opera was written by Jacopo Peri in 1598, titled Daphne. Following the success of Daphne in Florence, many composers started to write more music that fit into the genre of opera. Many prolific composers like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Richard Strauss, and Richard Wagner are famous for their operatic works. Due to the nature of opera itself, the art became very much ingrained in European culture. Opera drew a large crowd because it involved the extravagance of orchestral style, music with the drama of theater production. Because of the expensive nature of including music and a full theater production, opera was often sponsored and paid for by royalty. Soon it became a hot commodity, and almost every major town in Europe built a space for opera performances. Today, opera is still very much a part of European culture. There are opera houses all over Europe that range in size, and many wonderful schools that specifically teach the pedagogy of opera singing and performance. Opera came to the United States around the time the British colonies were settled. These operas were mostly works of English composers like Henry Purcell, Thomas Arne, and Jean Frederick Lampy. The artists in the United States also performed the operas from the operatic canon, like works of Gaetano Donizetti, Vincenzo Bellini, and Jean-Baptiste Lully. Around the time opera came to the United States, there were many American composers who started composing for the operatic genre. These composers include Leonard Bernstein, George Gershwin, Philip Glass, and John Corigliano. Many of these operas helped contribute to the building of large opera companies, one of the most famous of these being the Central City Opera, which was made famous by the opera Ballad of Baby Doe by Douglas Moore. During this time, opera became as much a part of the American culture as it is a part of the European culture. In recent years, after the economic downturn, things like the fine arts suffer greatly. In this particular instance, opera is suffering. In the last 8 years, many opera houses around the United States have been closing due to lack of available funding. This is due to many things, but the most important reason is because young people are not interested in opera. Opera is an art that involves passionate storylines, risque subjects, and tragic endings, as well as wonderful singers who have a talent that is hard to come by. As an aspiring opera singer, it is my goal to help get young people interested in opera to keep the art alive. Many people think opera is for stuffy old people, but in reality, it was created to be an outlet for the taboo among young peasants in Europe. The younger generations can grow to appreciate opera for the wonderful art it is. We can keep American opera from going extinct altogether. It might not be easy, but once the amazing art and passion of opera is passed to the next generation, the composers and artists can thrive in an environment that is accepting of them, and maybe even make America the center of the opera world. Thank you. Turn around. Audience selfie. There you go.
I think it's zoomed in.